welcome back to Hot Rod Guy Garage, and behind me, got something a little different. So follow me on through that intro, and I'll be back. So guys, behind me is something that we don't often see on my channel. In fact, it's probably the first time I put a Mopar on my channel, other than the Wagoneer and the shorts. So what we have behind us is a 68 Dodge Charger with a 69 grill. So let me flip it around. And like I said, what we have here is a 68 Dodge Charger. It is a factory 383 727 car. It's got a 69 grill in it. It looks like this thing was somebody's old 70s hot rod because it's got N50s on the back, some reverse dish wide Kragers. It had a diamond tuck interior in at one time, and as you can see, there's not a whole lot otherwise kind of left in here. The gauges are in pretty poor shape. It needs pretty much everything in this interior, but the driver's side window rolls down, the passenger side one don't. But it's a pretty good solid old car, and I know it looks rough, but it's really a good straight solid old car. And not only does it get the 69 grill, looks like somebody put a 69 fender on it and tried to fill in marker light, because there's 68 light where the 69 light was. But like I said, it's a decently straight old car. It ain't ate up with cancer, but it has had some previous repair work in these back quarters back here. As you can see, kind of see some rivet heads or screw heads, and it's peeled back there. But being a factory vinyl top car, you sell panels. The rear window panel is good and solid in it. It's just got a couple of small pinholes there, and the trunk floor is not that horrible either. But that rear pan is pretty much gone. And in typical 70s repair fashion, they riveted a panel over the top of the panel and then coated it with Bondo. I don't know, you think that thing's rotten. No, it's actually not. That's what the funny part of this is. It's actually not a bad car. It looks bad, but it's not that bad. It does need floor pans. It does need trunk pan. It needs lower quarters. It needs that rear tail pan. But the rest of the car is good and straight, and from what I can tell, don't have a whole lot of filler or anything in lower areas. And the underside of it is surprisingly really well too. And I know a lot of you, what, does it even have a motor in it? Does it run? Does it drive? No, it does not run and drive. It supposedly runs, and looks like somebody has put one of them little clickety-clack fuel pumps on it. I personally never started it, but I was told the carburetor pours fuel out of it. So let me flip it around and I'll show you the engine. And like I said, it's kind of ho-hum under here too. I mean, it needs a little bit of everything, but like I said, somebody put a clickety-clack on it. It's got that old 80s hose covers on it. I pulled the distributor cap off to look at the points in the background. Somebody has stuck a quarter jet on it, and if anybody notices, that engine is blue. So, kind of a tip off, it's not a 4-barrel 383. I run the numbers on this in the background, and it is actually a 76 through 78 400. And it's also not got the original transmission. I'm assuming the transmission came out of the car that the engine came out of. And I'm also going to assume, not soon after this engine swap was put in this car, that this thing was took off the road. Because you got telltale signs. So, bias plies, old Kragers, diamond plate interior. There's nothing new on this car. Nothing that I can predate to the, anything past the 80s, and that's being the hose covers. So I would assume this thing was probably parked sometime not after this engine was swapped. So hopefully we're going to bring this thing back to life. Hopefully it'll come back to life and do car things, because that's kind of the priority with this. We're going to do some metal work on this thing in the future, but my #1 priority is make car run, drive, and stop. So that's what we're going to work on. And we're going to do some suspension things while we're under here too. But let me lift up. We'll do an undercar walkthrough, and we'll talk about some things I've seen, and we'll go from there. So I've been working on this thing kind of in the background, guys. I've not really gotten real far on it, but I'd say it's a 15 by 10 or a 15 by 12 reverse Krager SS. And like I said, the tires kind of date this thing. As you see, them things are almost brand new. In 5015, I don't know when Superstar quit making these, but we're there. And you get under here and you're like, oh God, it's ate up, right? A lot of this is mud and undercoating. The frame rails, I jabbed right on them with a screwdriver. They're good and solid. It does have an 8 3/4 in it. Old set air shocks, and as you can see, I've done removed the gas tank out of this thing because, you know, you can imagine what it smelled like. And you can see all the mud that has fell down. We got some old glass packs and things, but you know, everything's in not horrible shape. Like I said, it needs some floor pans. The old transmission's dry, the old engine's dry, the steering's good and tight in it. And I done checked, like I said, I done checked the numbers on that, done checked the numbers on the transmission here. And the K-frame and stuff in it is good and solid. We got a little crusty stuff starting down here in this lower front pan, but that's a bolt-on piece and easy enough to take care of. But somebody has put a later model tire on that side front, I guess because the other one blew out. Somebody has been breaking lug nuts off, and I don't know quite what's going on here. But as you can see, the wheel don't roll, and it's got its original drum brakes. But where this car shines, and you see we got a little blister down here at the bottom of the door. But look at the bottom of those rockers. That's not holes, that's a tar or something. And the front frame rails are good and solid. You know, floor pans, trunk pan, some lower quarters, maybe some patchy things around through here. And I think it would make a decent old car. And I can't show you the other side without showing you this side. I got a pretty good little dent in the fender. I got some crusty stuff starting down here. But bottom of this rocker is good and solid. And just like the other door, we got a few little blistery things starting down low. Probably, you know, from where stuff's set in these doors. But if you look down the side of this old car, if you kind of follow the reflection, what little of one there is, it's like I said, it's pretty straight. But with anything like this old car that has set any amount of time, like this has, it's going to need just about everything. It's going to need all the rubber brake hoses. It's going to need brakes. It's going to need master cylinder. It's going to need a fuel tank, fuel lines, you know. And you get all that stuff replaced, you know, spark plugs, wires, points, you know, ballast resistor, alternator, you know, things that are shot and wore out. You're going to hope that the old engine transmission comes along for the ride and is happy. And I know it ain't no tire burning hot machine, but the old 400 ought to run all right, doesn't it? So I've got a big bunch of parts already, and I got a big bunch more on the way for this car. We're not going to do any metal work right now. It was an agreement between me and the guy that owns this. We're going to make car, like I said, run, drive, stop, and steer. So I'm going to clean things up as I replace stuff around it. But as far as a deep kind of restoration project, this is not going to be the car for it. This is going to be a fun car, a fun project for him. So I'm going to do my best to try to make it that way. So the only way I can really do is kind of keep costs down. How do you keep costs down? I need you guys to watch these videos, share them with your friends, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Those things do help, guys. These videos don't make a whole lot of money, and a lot of people think us guys that do this YouTube stuff are rich, but it's literally pennies here and there. So like 65, a lot of that car, I've got a lot out of my own pocket in it. The videos helped him out quite a bit too. But let's see what we can do with this 68 Charger. So, yeah. But before we delve any deeper, I showed you this ugly in this quarter panel. There really wasn't a whole lot of reason for it if you look at this right here. And if you look up in here, you can still see the factory red paint up in there. You don't see no holes. There's like one here, and you know, there's some up here, but most of this is just slabbed on there. Like I said, they riveted a panel to it out here and just coated it in Bondo. Just a cheap fix, I'm sure. And they done the same on this other side over here. This quarter really isn't all that bad down here at the bottom. I mean, does it need to be replaced? Yes, but look at the trunk drops in this thing. They're good and solid. So, you know, other than a random hole, like I said, most of this ugly is just undercoating and mud. And before anybody asks if that is a sure grip, it is not. It is a peg leg, a dog leg, a single wheel peel. So it don't have that going for it either. So guys, let me know what you think about this old car down there in the comments. And I'm going to spray some of this stuff down with some penetrating oil again. I've been soaking it for about 4 days now. Because, like I said, I don't think it's all that much rust as it is mud. But I don't want to break anything off this thing as I go. So, let me put you guys on the big stand. Let's see if we can get the rear leaf springs out of this. Because I got a new set up there. And we'll see where we get today. This thing's definitely got all the spider nest in it. They'd even built a little colony up here in the brake drums, and it definitely it's probably been doing some one wheel peeling in its life, as crazy as that brake shoe is. They're shot if you see how thin. But this side has the mega impressive super spider colony going on, so it's definitely yeah. Yep. I got new brake shoes, new wheel cylinders, and everything for rear brakes, so that's not a big deal. However, we need to see if these old brake lines and stuff come loose. Went ahead and sprayed all our stuff down with some penetrating oil. I think first thing we'll do is see if we can get these shocks off. And we'll see if we can't do that now. Oh boy. It's actively falling apart. Yeah. So, while the frame rails are decently solid, they are packed full of everything. Along with quarters, along with that rear pan, and yeah, it's pretty dirty. So, yeah, lots of cleanup. So, I'm not just throwing stuff on it and going. I'll flip it around here in a minute and show you the floor, but yeah, this might be a pretty big project. Yep, it's gonna be a messy one. So yeah. So I got our new leaf springs right here. As you can see, they got quite the arch compared to them old flat old ones. So that ought to hike the back of it up quite a bit. Unfortunately, it's probably gonna be tomorrow before I can get that spring back in this, because I'm cleaning and kind of painting a few things as I go, or at least stuff that touches other stuff. About the best way to approach this at this point. So wish me luck, and I'll be back tomorrow. Well, it's the next day and not much has changed. I sprayed a little phosphoric acid on that rear end. Just try to kill some of this rust, guys. That's about all you can do. Try to kill a little bit of it, wire brush it, clean it. I've got all the spring hardware outside. I painted it this morning. It's out there drying. Sometimes you just got to do what you can do to move forward. So I'm just painting stuff that contacts other stuff. Stuff like this rear end, I just sprayed some, after I wire brushed, I sprayed some phosphoric acid like also on it. Gonna let it just live like that until I can get this car running and moving, and I can get it up here and wash all this mud out from under it. And then we can go from there. So when this stuff dries out, I'll be back. So I come in here in the background. I already started loosening these shackle bolts. They're really bad. I've just been working them back and forth a little at a time until I get them off. But I went ahead and hung the driver's side spring. This is a little that steel camel lube. It does not attack rubber up here. I put it on the shackle bushings just to keep, things from rusting in between, and it's sure not going to hurt it. But check out the arch difference. These are General Spring 2.5 inch lift springs for the back of this. And a lot of you may be wondering, well, why put a lift spring on it? So that side's still bolted up. We're on the pole jack. That's the arch difference in the spring. A lot of you may be wondering, why put a lift spring on the back of this car? We're going to build a cool 70s style hot rod out of this thing. This is a buddy of mine's car. He bought it. He'd always wanted one. So you really only got two choices. Well, three choices with a 68 through 70 Charger. And that's to either, build a Dukes of Hazzard, a General Lee clone, which is what I would have personally done. I would have probably put a 69 taillight panel in it, because it's already got a 69 grill in it. 70s hot rod. Or this new resto mod route that everybody's going, that is probably going to be a fad that's going to fall hard like monochromatic paint in the 1980s. But, 70s hot rod look, it appeals to some people. It appeals to me. I think it'll be cool. So we're going to build something cool out of this thing. We're going to do some metal work on it later on. But right now, making it operational. So the lift springs will make it a lot easier on things. Instead of having big long shackles or air shocks that you have to run at 125 pounds of air in them. Now I am going to put a set of hijackers back on the back of this car, but they're going to be there just in case these springs don't lift it quite enough. And a lot of them may be wondering, why not just blow the whole car apart and have it blasted? Well, he, like everybody else, has a budget, so we're going to go this route for now. We can at least get some enjoyment out of it for a little while, and then we'll start blowing it apart and doing some metal work on it. So let me go back, find one some rusty bolts, and I get these things out, guys. I'll be back. Well, let's begin burning the shackle out of the leaf spring version 2 here. And the majority of people wonder why it costs so much work on old cars, because stuff like that. Yeah, I got to burn the shackles out. I got to burn the bushings out, because that shackle will not come out by love nor money. Then I got to get the bushings out of the, the frame rail on the car and replace those. And then I got to clean all the rust off all this stuff, treat it, and then paint it all before I put it back on. So it's a very labor intensive process to do this stuff. And I don't know how in-depth this series is going to get compared to the 65 Mustang series, but we're going to work along, and I'm just going to kind of give you guys updates. A lot of this stuff I've covered in the past, and some of it I haven't, but you know, I'm going to try to add some helpful tips along the way. Well, I got all this stuff cleaned up and got some paint on it, and I'm currently letting it dry. And I got all the shipping stuff off the rear springs. It's ready to go back on. And I opened up our shocks, and I've got them hanging. Got quite the arch in these new springs, so probably gonna have to sit on some jack stands, get the shocks back on it. But for now, I just got them loose and hanging here. And here's one of them helpful tip moments, guys. You got a spring, and you can't get it, you know, in your shackle. Put your jack under it. Push that spring up, and then take you something like this pry bar, and you can pry the spring forward or back or up and down until you can get your shackle and stuff in it. Otherwise, make the spring do what you want it to do. This really comes in handy on lift springs or truck lift kits. Sometimes the re-arch springs are re-arched a little high. You're going to get in this situation where them shackles are going to be all the way forward like this. And it's going to have a tendency when you sit this thing on the ground that they're going to want to just go up against the frame rail. So once we get all this stuff buttoned up, I'll sit down and I'll show you how to fix that. And when we get the shocks back on it, that will never happen again. So one more helpful tip and I'll flip it around. Don't ever make the mistake of thinking you can get away without new U-bolts. So these come from General Spring, where springs come from. They got nice nuts, they got nice thick washers, and U-bolts are nice too. You want to use a little of your friend the anti-seize there on these threads. That'll just make it nice if you ever have to take these things back apart. So at this point, I got everything just run up there kind of snug. Need to torque these rear U-bolts to hold the axle plates on. Mopar spec on Charger is 45 foot-pounds plus or minus 15 foot-pounds. Kind of a weird spec, I guess. So I'm gonna go grab a torque wrench and torque these things on, I guess, 60 foot-pounds, because that'd be 45 plus 15. Is it just me, or does that seem awfully loose? Floor stuff torques like 80 foot-pounds. And they're same size U-bolts. So, I'll tell you one thing, they weren't that loose when I took them off. So, let me stick to it. Well, what I done is let the car down on jack stands down here, and the shackle flipped itself back around. Sometimes you might have to take a pry bar and help it along, but I got the shock nuts started down there. So I figured while it's sitting with the weight on the back of the car, might as well throw one of these back on there and see what it's going to sit like. Well, probably not the greatest representation considering it's sitting on jack stands and it don't have a gas tank or anything in it, but it is definitely well off the tire now, even without the air shocks. So it'll settle a little bit over time, but I don't think he's going to have any tire rubbing issues. Yeah, it's probably quite a bit higher than I anticipated it. Like I said, those are a 2.5 inch lift spring for a, you know, a 68, 69, and 70 Dodge Charger. So it's on up there a little bit. It will come down. Probably should put some regular shocks on the back of it instead of air shocks, but you know, they're there just in case he wants to haul a load of something in the trunk. And on a serious note, it will come down once the car's weight is evenly distributed. But I don't think we're going to have any tire rubbing issues. So now, while I've got the suspension loaded, I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the front shackle bolts. I left those loose when I put the springs up in there because you don't ever want to tighten that stuff up with no weight on it. So the car now has weight on it, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten those bolts up with 2 wrenches on both sides, and then we'll lift this thing back in the air, and we'll go from there. Well, got all the rear suspension wrapped up. We still got to do the brakes, which I'm still waiting on some wheel cylinders, but I got the drums and shoes here. I went ahead and run those air shock lines. I've just got them looped up in the upper cross member up there. It comes around, tees in right there, and then feeds out right here under the tag if you need to air it up for any reason. So I think at this point, guys, I'm going to stick both rear wheels on it and sit this thing down on the ground and see what we got. That way it's got full vehicle weight on it, and you know, takes jack stand stuff out of that equation. Well, I definitely get it back on the ground. I got the wheel stuck back on it. See behind me. This thing is definitely, looks like it came out of the movie High Riders. If you know what that is, comment down there below. But man, does it look cool. We do have some wheel well gap, but it also don't have a gas tank in it, so it'll come down just a little bit. And the torsion bars probably could be used to be crunked up just a little bit, but well, that looks proper right there. Well, I like it. I like the way it sits. He might not, but I do. It is very, let's just say 1976. Good year, right? Little disco, some high car sitting in the rear, some low sitting in the front, N50s, big wide Kragers, and a classic Mopar. So guys, that's where I'm going to leave this video off. If you like these kind of videos, share them with your friends. If you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button because it does help the channel grow. Lets me bring you more content like this. If you are a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you guys. And I look forward to everybody's comments down below. So let me know what kind of format you want to see a 68 Charger project go in. So until next one, I'll see you at the next one. Thanks for watching.